I think it's a commonly accepted fact that most people love Japan and its culture. The pretty Japanese girls, the cosplaying, the cute girls, all the anime and video games, and for a number of reasons, octopus tentacles, and did I mention cute girls? And it's because of this quote-unquote culture that a boatload of foreigners will travel to Japan to quote-unquote teach English. But I digress. But let's talk about the restaurants, because the restaurants in Japan are amazing. Not just the food itself, but the theme of the restaurants and the cafes and the way you experience them are a next freaking level. Like they have cafes that have capybaras or owls or even hedgehogs. That's so freaking cool. Today we're going to talk about ramen, but not just any ramen, but the concept of Ichiran ramen. While a lot of Asian cuisines are often seen as a communal experience, Ichiran ramen has been praised as the introvert's dream or an oasis for solo dining experiences. And in Vancouver, they recently opened an Ichiran ramen inspired Japanese restaurant called Ramen One that I just had to try. Ramen One is located on West Broadway, one of the busiest streets in Vancouver. On top of that, there has been hella construction in the area of the last couple years, so getting here was a bit of a pain, since parking was definitely going to be an issue. I ended up SkyTraining instead to save myself the trouble. Now that being said, the construction and parking issues are not their fault, so if you do like a restaurant, try and go out of your way a little to support them, because local businesses need that support to stay alive. Anyhow, when you arrive, you are greeted by a small U-shaped room, and one long table that goes all the way around, separated by wooden dividers. As the table area is quite efficiently compact, hangers for your clothes and bags are off to the side. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't sure if my fat ass was gonna fit, but it worked out actually, and it was actually quite comfortable. The style of the place is clean, simple, and modern, which I really enjoyed. Now let's talk unique features. Like the classic Ichiran ramen restaurant, this place has wooden dividers, so that everyone can eat individually. Unlike the original, Ramen One's dividers are movable, so if you want to eat as a group, you still can. And of course it has that serving window that it's known for. No need to talk to the server, the food comes right to you from the kitchen. The sitting space feels really different. It kind of feels like I'm in a work cubicle, but for eating. But as a solo diner on a lunch break, I'd be down for this. Because at work, while I'm on a lunch break, I just need to be left the fuck alone. Are you guys like that too? Because I just want to be by myself. Your eating area seems almost fully self-sufficient. Like you got your own water tap to get water whenever you want without having to wave down a waiter. I appreciate this a lot. I drink a lot of water and I hate having to flag them down over and over again. I feel like I'm being a nuisance sometimes. The area is also fully equipped with seasoning, sauces, pepper, and this hot pepper dispenser I really like. The space is small, but you don't feel overly cluttered, which for a hefty boy like myself might be a problem. Everything is really space efficient. And to order, get the bill, or if you need anything else, you can simply press a button and the server will be on their way. And yes, there is still some human contact, but again, no flagging down waiters. And I know I keep emphasizing this point because I've been to so many restaurants where I've had to make such a big effort to get a hold of my waiter. Now let's actually talk about the food, instead of my little capsule hotel seating area. Now they had this menu item that uses tea broth, and I said, what? Tea broth? And I knew I had to try it. I already knew that there are some dishes that use tea leaves as seasoning, or soup base, but I've never really had that many opportunities to try it. Now I was kind of expecting this to be bland, a little bit more of a palate cleanser type appetizer. When you look at it, it just kind of looks like a bowl of rice with a sprinkle of mentaiko, which is spiced cod roe paste. Or salmon furikake, which is like a seasoning you often put on rice. And then there was one with chopped chashu, which actually made the bowl look a lot fuller. And I've got to say, visually, they don't present very well, because they don't look like much, but flavor-wise, it is so good. It's clean, it's savory, and somehow rich at the same time. It's a small bowl, so it's not overly filling, and it's conceptually so simple. It makes me feel like I'm visiting a small town in Japan. And the chashu was probably my favorite because it just had a little bit more chew than everything else. And then there was the taco wasabi, one of my favorite appies that I always get. Little bits of octopus wrapped in a wasabi-based sauce. Now I often find that people have a texture issue with this dish, but the flavor is top-notch. Once again, it doesn't look like a whole lot, but it also has a deceivingly strong flavor profile. It's a little bit sweet, a little bit savory, and a lot of wasabi. It's got this brain-tickling spiciness. I felt like I breathed better after. Abso-freaking-lutely delicious. Now here's something I really didn't enjoy, the onigiri. Too much rice, not a whole lot of flavor, wasn't for me. Now one might argue that traditional onigiri has a lot of rice, and that's a valid argument. But when I'm dining in a restaurant, I'm not aiming just to eat a whole lot of rice, with not a lot of toppings or flavors. Now I won't tell people not to try it, but it's not something I'd order from my table. And they served us tea from their sister company, 404. It was ice cold and smooth. Having the cold tea did cleanse the palate for some heavier items like the ramen. And finally, the star of the video, the ramen. I got the traditional tonkatsu shio ramen, which is a pork-based broth. It has mushrooms, green onions, pickled ginger, 3 pieces of chashu, and an egg. By the way, places that only serve with 1 piece of chashu, that is insanity. You need more. The chashu was a decent cut, not too crazy thick, but definitely not too thin. And funny thing is, I don't usually add all these spices or sesame or anything on top because I like to taste the natural flavors. But now that I'm sitting in this booth where it's right in front of me, I couldn't help myself. It just felt like part of the experience to add all these things. The noodles were decent, not too soft at all. When noodles are too soft, they tend to break when you pick them up. Held together, had some chew, no complaints. Now I got some mixed reviews on the ramen, but I actually really enjoyed it. Decent broth and a good number of toppings. I really have no complaints about it at all. If I were to make one nitpicky comment, is that I'd like to have the broth even stronger in flavor. The waitress asked if I liked spicy and I told her hell yeah. So she got us some extra spicy oil. Now I was gentle with it. I used it sparingly just so that I wouldn't hurt myself. I really didn't want to ugly sweat in public, you know? Like when the sweat's coming down your face and your armpits are feeling all swampy and your back's all wet, none of that. I didn't want any of that. But the sauce was actually so damn good. It was a little smoky, a little bit of kick, and a whole lot of flavor. I'm not entirely sure it's on the menu, but you should ask for it because it tastes amazing. The chashu is on the softer side, not a whole lot of bite, breaks pretty easily, some people call it tender. I like a little bit of chew on it, honestly, but not too bad. The egg was solid in the middle, but I'm not sure that was their fault. I think I was filming for too long and the yolkiness just kind of disappeared. But flavor-wise, on point. People have really described this in a solo experience kind of way, but I brought a friend and I still really enjoyed myself. And there's just so much to love about this place in terms of how efficient it is. If you decide to pay a visit, let me know what you think, and what you think of restaurants that are more geared for the solo dining experience in general. And of course, if you like this video, please subscribe, like, comment. I appreciate all of it. Thank you so much for tuning in.